All right, without much further ado, we'll move on to the next plenary, and it's Plenary 5. This is focused on womenpreneurs from startup, scale-up to success.
It's sponsored by Optiva Capital and Partners. We'd like to invite the session moderator, Ifesinachi Okpagu, Chief Marketing Officer, Heirs Insurance Group. Please make your way to the stage for Plenary 5. This plenary is Womenpreneurs from Startup, Scale-Up to Success. A round of applause for her, please, as she makes her way to the stage. Thank you.
So our moderator, Ifesinachi Okpagu, will be off stage to bring up other members of this panel conversation. But just before she does that, I'll be allowing the CEO of Optiva Capital Partners to please say a word, at least for sponsoring us. Give her a round of applause. She'll speak to us for a minute, and then we'll move on to the panel conversation.
Good afternoon, ladies. Honestly, it's such an honor for us to be here, and you look so amazing and beautiful. So Optiva Capital Partners, we are a wealth management company specializing in investments, immigration, second citizenship, permanent residency, covering a range of jurisdictions, and we welcome you to visit our stand. With me is our Executive Director, Amaka Lawal, and I'll invite her to say a word as well. Just a quick one.
Winbies women! Hi, I'm so excited. I don't think I've been in a room like this filled with amazing, inspiring women. This experience is just too much for me, but I'm excited. So we at Optiva, we support women. 70% of our staff are women. CEO woman, ED woman, HR, our team, all women here present. Thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to a lot of you coming to Optiva, meeting with us, and just having fun. Thank you. We are undisputed market leaders in investment, immigration, wealth management, and insurance services. Thank you for this opportunity. Winbies, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Eco Hotel winners, please make your way to the registration desk for your documentation. Over to our session moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So after listening to such an engaging session on self-care, where I heard things like lamb chops, amala, and staycations at hotels, and then of course the raffle draw where people won a hotel weekend at the hotel, I have would I call it the onerous opportunity and privilege to introduce this interesting session on entrepreneurship and what it means to be a womanpreneur. If I were to ask across the room, how many of us either are entrepreneurs or no entrepreneurs, I'm sure everyone would raise up their hands, right? Oh, I can see some people already raising up their hands. We are all here because entrepreneurs are the pillars of society. Without them, none of us can be here today. So there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, you do what? You go alone. But if you want to go far, you do what? You go together. So at this point, please permit me to welcome my speakers, my fellow panelists. First on the list is Jane Kimemia, the CEO of Optiva Capital Partners. Please put your hands together for her. And next, joining us on stage is Tosin Adefeko, the founder, CEO, AT3 Resources. Please put your hands together as she takes the stage. And next on my list, all the way from Zimbabwe, I have Titi Mutendi, the co-founder, African Family Firms, and MD of Wenger Investments. Please put your hands together for her. And also joining us on stage, Salamat Rahman, the founder, CEO, Easy Gas Energy Solutions Limited. Okay, so we have these wonderful, distinguished ladies, executives in their own rights, who will be sharing with us personal experiences around entrepreneurship and around what it really takes. Because I think that many people see the glamour of entrepreneurship, but they don't quite know about the blood, the sweat, the investment, the sacrifices that go into building and sustaining a business. And today we're going to be learning from their personal experiences. So I'll start first with Tosin, if I may. Tosin, your background really is, you worked with several brands, right? Before starting your business, 83 Resources. For those of us in the room, perhaps thinking of starting a business, or thinking of moving from the 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship, what is the best time? At what point does the light bulb go off and you say, yeah, it's time? So over to you.
Thanks, Ifesinachi. Good morning, ladies. The view from here, I must warn you, is quite intimidating. I've been a member of Wimbis for so long, so this feels like home. I've volunteered, I've attended many, many conferences. As a matter of fact, a photo popped up on my phone with my son in a buggy. He's 10 now, and he was in a buggy at a conference 10 years ago. So this is home, right? But sitting here to come and share my story with you feels like an accomplishment on its own. If my mom was here, she's one of those moms you see online that when their children are graduating, they'll start dancing. She would have been doing like this. She would have thought, you guys were giving me money. So thank God I didn't invite her. So we can have a peaceful ceremony. Anyway, so like I said, I'm very glad and privileged to be here and to share my story. 83 Resources is a company that I started from my dining table almost 6 years ago as a loan consultant. Now, I was just resigning from a job that I actually totally loved. So I didn't need to resign, but principalities, many people have been talking about them. Principalities will want you to thrive. So one day, I woke up one day and I said, you know what? I love you, Chairman, you know I do, but I'm gone. He did everything to try to make me stay, but I said no, the time was up. You would think I had an inheritance. I had no money beyond whatever I had saved at the time. But what I had was what I had built over the years. I feel like everything that had happened in my life prepared me for that one day that I had to take that decision. Like it was just a gut feeling. And I didn't even know I was going to set up a business when I resigned, actually. I actually resigned and traveled because I love to travel. So after like 3 months, I sat on my dining and I started to create a company. Because I had worked in the industry I now serve in, it was pretty easy because I had seen the gaps in that space. Everyone was very creative. Everyone would come and say, we can tell you stories. Everyone was passionate. But there was something that I saw that was missing in my space, which is not everyone kept to the promises that they made to their clients. Some of the things that frustrated me was watching people, I wasn't in control of my business, saying, oh, we can do this, we can do that, we can do that, then you fail. So I felt like that was the area that I could place my services on as our unique selling proposition. So I created a company, just set up a company I had registered 6 years ago, to be more precise, and 83 Resources was born. Like I said, I didn't have anything, but I have networks, I have my experience. I had worked with so many global brands. As a matter of fact, at some point it felt like they were relying on me within other people's businesses because of the kind of values that I would always push. Now, what did I do after registering the company? I started to tell everyone that, we do PR. My husband became my biggest advocate as well. We do PR, we do PR. And then, one after the other, we started to get briefs. In a year and a half, and I was telling my chairman the story, my former chairman, sorry, I still call him my chairman. I was telling my chairman the story. Within 3 months, I actually made enough money that exceeded my annual salary in the first year. while sitting on my dining table. But of course, that's not where this story ends, right? So what happened was, over the years, I got encouraged and more comfortable. I got bolder, and then I moved out of the dining, got a space at Onikon. We started working. I'm going to talk about my chairman again. When we had the opening, he came, he said, Tosin, man, worry. That means, Tosin, don't worry. This place will still be full. By now, it was no longer just me. I had like 2 other consultants. And I'm looking at him with the corner of my eye, and I'm like, this place will be full, okay. At this point, I'm still scared, right? Guess what happened within 3 years of staying in that space? I'll tell you in a minute. Just give me a minute. Because I need to tell this particular story. I want someone to remind me if I forget. We positioned ourselves as the communications consultants that will not fail, will keep your promises, right? And we just stuck to our value proposition. That means we couldn't afford to be everything to everyone. Not everyone could work with us. But it was fine. Now, after 2 years, sitting in our office at Onikon, I got a message on LinkedIn from a random person from the small local jobs we had been doing, but making money, by the way. And it was someone that worked at Facebook. And he was like, oh, I put up your name as a PR company in Nigeria for work. I was like, okay, thank you. But I answered, but I went to my staff and said, someone wants to do me for one night online. How can Facebook come to my company as small as we are upon all the agencies in Nigeria? So we had a laugh, and that went. Then an email follow-up came through. And I'm like, guys, this is serious. So I said to them, we might not win the pitch, but just as we always do, we need to put in our all. We need to do this, we need to do that. We stopped sleeping. We started to ideate and, concepts, whatever. We got the winning formula and we pitched. A rigorous pitch, by the way. And we won that account. So our claim to fame is that we became the communications partner for Facebook West Africa. They're now known as Meta, but I know many people relate with the former name. That's why I'm using Facebook. But they're Meta. And for the last 3 years, we've been on that account. Let me quickly take you back to when I said we set our value proposition, which is, if you love promises, you will enjoy working with us. 2 years after we worked on that Meta account, the director of communications at one of our annual retreats said, and she has many agencies under her purview, she said, 83 resources, thank you. The reason I thank you today is because anytime I want to think about someone to do something, either urgently or planned or whatever, I think about 83 resources. Do you know why? Because every time you say you will do something, you get it done. What do you think I achieved there? It was the mere fact that I sat on my dining table, created a USP for a company, and 4 years after, someone said to me, it was like a validation. This is the point where you say, Father, Lord, thank you. To cut the long story short, everything we've ever gotten since that win was because we now had bragging rights, what we didn't have before, which is, do you know I work for Facebook? As in, what are you waiting for? So basically, before you speak to me as a client for 5 minutes, by the way, we work for Facebook West Africa. So most of the campaigns, and this is exposure to global best practice, by the way. I can't talk too much. There are other people on the panel, and there's a missing part of this story that I have to tell. I don't know if I'll come back to it. But let me tell you, every single thing we've gotten since that win, the fame, the fortune, the recognition, we've worked on global and local brands. The briefs I used to beg for, now you have to beg me, because honestly, I have to understand what you want and how it fits into our resources and our time before I can attend to your brief. Everything we've ever gotten, global awards. I just got back from Barcelona 2 weeks ago. We won an award on one of the global campaigns we ran for Meta. Everything we've ever gotten happened because of that. And I will stop there, but I will not answer your second question until I continue this story. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, I feel that you actually just took the answers for all the questions right now. But there were two important things you said. The first is preparation and opportunity. And many times, oftentimes, we don't quite focus on the fact that opportunities come our way, but many times we are not prepared for them. So it's just important that we are always prepared so that when those opportunities come, we're able to meet them. And then the second pertinent thing you mentioned is about identifying gaps in the market. And this would lead us to the next part of the question, really about sustaining a business, especially for family businesses. We see that in several continents, especially Asia, family businesses are a big thing, a big deal. They've been able to get the recipe for sustaining businesses, from one generation to another. But in Africa, we still struggle with that. So I would direct this question to you, Titi. What is the winning formula for us as Africans really having businesses that transcend generations? So businesses that are, in 2000s and 2100s and on, we can still see those businesses that thrive, expand, and become even cultural heritage in the country or on the continent as well.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. Afternoon, right. Thank you, Wimbers, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It's my first time in Nigeria. And I think also Wimbers speaks to the multi-generational conversation, because a lot of the speakers that I have seen sit on the stage have testified that they once saw a Wimbers event, saw a Wimbers stage, and they wanted to be here. And they worked hard to be able to sit in these chairs. So thank you so much once again. So to answer your question on multi-generational, I am a third-generation family business member. So that means, wait for it, guys. Third generation in that my grandparents from both sides were family business owners. My parents were also family business owners, and I'm a family business owner. But what got me really interested in understanding family businesses and multi-generational wealth was a couple of years ago when my dad passed on. So my dad was the first black dermatologist in my country, and he had an amazing legacy. And so when he passed on, I got the responsibility for being the executor of his estate. That was a very interesting journey for me, because I had to honor the legacy of a man who had raised me, as well as safeguard the wealth of the family, or whatever of it was left. And I was building my own family businesses. And I got married to my husband, we started building businesses, and we were having a typical entrepreneurial journey where things will be successful and then things will go down and you have nothing. So when I saw my dad's estate and I realized, okay, we can get to a point where you will have nothing and leave nothing. And I thought about my upbringing, and I thought about my grandparents, and I thought, I didn't inherit anything, but they had businesses, so I had that claim. My parents, when my dad passed, there wasn't much to inherit. The businesses that I grew up surrounded by, I think we all know family businesses. We all know businesses that are owned by our neighbors. We know businesses that are owned by families that we grew up in communities with. And once the founder of the business passes on, it takes a couple of years sometimes, but the business disappears. There's no more business. And what happens when you're just a simple person like me who's like, I want to build my businesses so that my children can enjoy their wealth and so that my grandchildren can enjoy their wealth. Because when we're building, we want to serve community, right? You're not just doing products and services. You want to bridge a gap. You want to solve a problem. However, your family business is so integral that if you're no longer there and the business is no longer there, you're collapsing a whole system. That's how important family businesses are. And you know what the anchor of family businesses being successful and multi-generational is? It's communication. We don't talk to each other. Husbands don't talk to wives, brothers don't talk to sisters. We don't talk to each other. And so we start building as entrepreneurs. We start going all in, we start scaling, we start building these amazing, incredible businesses. but we don't tell our inheritors that they're going to be inheritors. We don't communicate to our inheritors that they're going to be owners. We allow them to get entitlement. It's going to be mine. They don't know how it was built. They don't know how it started. Because sometimes while you're doing it, you're forgetting to tell the story. So now you want your grandchildren to inherit your wealth, but your own children don't even know what that wealth looks like. Communication is the cornerstone of multi-generational wealth. It's the story that goes, if you want to go far, go together. As an entrepreneur, you want to go fast. You want to get to the top. You can go alone. If you want to go far, if you want the multi-generational conversation, you must go together. So I have 3 children. One is 12, one is 9, one is 6. Every month we have a family meeting and we have a discussion around what it is that their mom and dad do, what do the businesses look like, what do the assets look like, what does ownership look like. They may never work for our businesses, but they're going to understand what being owners are and hiring the right people to continue building the family businesses, because I would like my name to be remembered by my great-great-grandchildren for having built something that changed their lives.
Thank you so much, Siti, for that. And it's so important what you said about just transferring family values. First of all, identifying them, identifying those values, recognizing them, and then passing them on to the next generation. So thank you for that. And I'll move on to Jane. You have built success in a traditionally recognized male-dominated industry. And as a woman who's building to last in the financial services space, what are the challenges that you go through? What is your story? What have you had to overcome? And how have you overcome all these obstacles in your way?
Thank you very much for that question, and a good afternoon once again. So just to give you background of who we are, Optiva Capital Partners, we are a wealth management company. Our focus is on 3 areas. One is investments immigration, where basically we work with our clients on their acquisition of second citizenship or permanent residency. We've got a whole range of jurisdictions. So depending on what their needs are, is it global access, not necessarily migration, or is it migration for children's education? Then we're able to create the bespoke solutions to take care of their needs. We are the market leaders in investments immigration, not only in Nigeria, but actually across Africa. Number 2 is investment services and advisory, where we are a gateway to investment opportunities for our clients and really working with them to protect, to safeguard their wealth across all the vagaries of devaluation. Number 2, to grow their wealth. Number 3, to diversify, to make sure that all your eggs are not in one basket, so should anything happen. And lastly, to really get our clients saying that their money is working for them. And lastly, insurance, which is protection. My background before Optiva Capital Partners, I've been in the financial services for a long time. So this is my 26th year, by the grace of God. I worked for 2 international banks for a combined 20 years. My earlier in career, I started off at Barclays Bank and grew through the ranks to director. And I moved on to Standard Chartered Bank as general manager, taking care of a region, priority banking, international banking. And later on, as executive director, head of wealth management, looking after investment services, FX, and bank assurance, covering a region. Then, now let's talk about the connection. You know, when you talk about moving from being in financial services and moving into enterprise, it sounds like a story from one bridge, one success to another, but it's not true. And this is the reality. So some of the challenges have been, so at some point in my 40s, I just turned 50 this year. Just before I turned 40, I read this book, Halftime by Bob Buffett. And I was restless. I had an amazing career. In addition to executive director, I was managing director for 2 subsidiaries for Standard Chartered Bank, Standard Chartered Investment Services and Insurance Agencies Limited, regulated by various capital markets authority. But I knew I had a restlessness inside of me, and time was coming to move from just success to significance. But it always sounds like it's success to significance, one bridge to another. So what are the challenges? First of all, is defining the what. What are you gonna be doing as you talk about transition? I've seen so many of my friends, I think around my age group, talk about transitioning from corporate into enterprise. But I can tell you, it is not. So first of all, what are you going to be doing? What are you known for? I've seen people make moves that I'm in financial services and decide that I'm going to do something else altogether. But what I have found really works is stay true to who you are. Stay on your lane. Find your way, find your area of service that is aligned to who you have been, that you don't have to redefine yourself. So the challenges, first of all, is the what. Luckily, Optiva Capital Partners, I remember sitting with the chairman in 2017, thereabout, and the company was just about 15 people. And we drew on some manila paper. I still keep it, it's so priceless. And the ambition was to get to 45 staff members. And that sounded like, wow, that is so huge. But our chairman is a visionary, and soon it was 200. Soon it was 1,000. That's who we are now. With over 17 branches, in the next few months, we're gonna be at 20 branches. So, number one, the challenge is your what. Be so convicted about your what. It keeps you motivated. Number two, stay positive. Basically look at the possibilities. Define your possibilities and be very clear about that. See the possibilities, but be realistic. So possibilities means that you need to have the courage, you need to have the resilience, you need to stay the course, you need to continue to have that reason that keeps you going, because times are gonna be tough. You need to be real, that it's not gonna be from one success to another. There's something they taught us in business school when I was at the INSEAD about S-curves. S-curves is, in project management, it's like an S. So you reach the peak, and you think because you're top of your corporate ladder, you're gonna move to top in enterprise. And that is not true. You're gonna start from even below the graph. And there are gonna be tough times. So how will you stay the course? Prepare. Be so convinced about your course. Be so passionate about your area of service that you would do it free. Find the passion and the energy that serves your soul, that is aligned to who you are. So that is number two. Prepare to be lonely. Time will come when you don't belong where you're coming from, and you do not belong where you're headed to. You're somewhere in between, trying to define your journey. And if you're not careful, you can live your life facing the back, saying, I used to be, this is or yeah. Honestly, so many people are held back by the past, the glory of the yesteryears. And you're saying it's ahead. You have to make the distinction between your past, which serves you, but careful not to keep, I used to be this person. What about now? I've interviewed people who are talking about their successes 10 years ago. So what's happening now? So be very focused. What got you here is important, but it may not necessarily get you there. You need to unlearn. When you're in corporate, I worked in corporates that are established for hundreds of years. You're moving to enterprise. Our chairman says sometimes he had to feel the diesel and sit at the boardroom. So you have to know how to sweep and to soar. To be that person initially, that is the lag of the S-curve before you start to be exponential. And that's why she said people see this glory, but the story behind the scenes, it is sweat, it's nights of hard work, it is unrelenting, it's not giving up, knowing that you're going to see another day, that it is tough today, but our mind is made up. Yeah, I know it's...
Thank you so much, Jane. You dropped a lot of hard nuggets, a lot of hard quotes, things that we should reflect on. I particularly liked a phrase you used, moving from success to significance, because there are so many layers to it. Many times we think that success is a goal, but there are so many other stops right after you get to that point. And success is not just what you have in your account, right? It's how, or the value that you bring into society. So thank you so much for really shedding the light on defining success, on stretching yourself, on moving way past what you think you can do. And on that note, I would also build on something you said on courage and resilience and move into serial entrepreneurship. And I would direct that question to Salamat. So as a serial entrepreneur, it sounds so interesting, right? If someone comes and says, oh, I run 4 businesses, 5 businesses. But I know that it's a lot of challenges. It's a lot of juggling tasks, juggling dreams, juggling goals. How do you achieve this? And for those of us that are out there as well, how do you keep the balance between juggling all these many responsibilities and still having time for your own personal development?
Aside from having psychological problems. I must start by saying that first of all, if you understand why you start a business in the first place, then it kind of draws the thread through whatever other business that you set up. So if you approach business from providing a service, from fulfilling a need, for bridging a gap, for giving out into the society, then there is no end to opportunities that come to do that. And so what is then important is, what am I good at? And what do I enjoy doing? And what am I good at? Which of these is going to make money for me? So that at some point, I can do the things that make money, so that I have the money to empower me to do the things that I like. And, there's a large volume of chaos that is involved in doing all of these things. But if you understand why you are doing it, then you are able to sort through the chaos and get to the point of why you are doing it. And the why then determines how you make your decisions, which businesses you start, and so on and so forth. So I was discussing with you earlier that every single business that I do today, I have done as a hobby. I did it. In fact, so I started my gas business because I thought gas was sexy. I worked in gas for 10 years in LNG, and I thought, yes, I'm going to do gas because who is doing it? I'll do it. And then after 10 years, I left. I don't know why I did that. Okay, I know why I did that, but I mean. After 10 years, I left and I started my gas business. And some days I would be, when you're so frustrated that the outlet is to find another work to do, so that you don't feel as useless as you felt in the office. So you go home and find handiwork. I would go to my sister has a fashion business. I would go to my sister's fashion business and tell her, give me a turban. I will bead the turban all night. By morning, my head will be correct again so that I can go to work and face those mad people in the office, And then I said, okay, you know what? I like this fashion thing. I love watching fashion stuff and so on. So I said, okay, I'm going to learn how to make adire. And so I would make adire and I would spread them on my garden, and my friends would come and say, I like this, I say, take it. I like this, I say, take it. Because I need it to go so I can buy more when I'm frustrated and die again and dash them out. And someone said, why don't you just sell them? And I said, it's true, you know. I'm so caught up in the frustration of this thing that I'm doing that I can't see that this is an opportunity for me to do something else that I enjoy. And so I started selling them for next to nothing. And then someone says, okay, I've bought all this now. I don't have a tailor to sew it. Will you sew it for me? So I said, oh, well, okay. So I have good tailors. I'll sew it for you. And I started sewing again for free. I would call the tailor, say, take her measurements, charge her, she'll bill you or whatever, she'll pay you, and that's that. Until someone said, it's like you don't like money. Don't you want to make money here too? I said, okay. I started making money there. And on and on. I trained as a civil engineer, and then oil and gas distracted me, and then all of a sudden, I found my way back. I do renovations and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, the point behind what I'm trying to say is that these businesses served a purpose for me at the time. So, yes, we hear a lot about set up a business because you want to satisfy a need. Sometimes the need is yours. Sometimes it is not necessarily, so nobody needs to be a saint. Sometimes it's just you needing to declutter your mind. And in doing that, you provide value to someone else. And that person is willing to pay for it. So great. Do that. What is most important is once you start doing that and people start deriving value from it and they give you feedback, then it is fulfilling for you. And that fulfillment, no money can buy it. There's no money that is worth it. And so when you go through hard times, I read a quote somewhere where the person said, the truth is there's nothing called a successful business. You have long-standing businesses. Because if you take a snapshot at a random point in time in every business, they are successful, then they are not. They are making money, then they are not. They are relevant, then they are not. And so what determines who the blue chip companies are is we've been here for 100 years. It hasn't been 100 years of roses. It's been 100 years of grit, blood, sweat, I'm not doing again, fight. Then you come back, it's okay, don't be annoyed. It's hard out there, let's just make it work. You know, but you just have to keep going. So essentially, it's taking the chaos, mining opportunity from it, and using it to solve a problem, bridge a gap, and gain fulfillment from it at the end of the day. The truth of the matter is, if you keep pouring into a business and you don't get anything out of it, and when I say anything, I'm not referring to money. Take money off the table. Because if your motivation is money, you will leave, that business will fail. Period. And unfortunately for us in our environment, the motivation for a lot of us to start businesses is money. We say, well, I need an extra source of income. Let me just start selling this thing. No, I'll start doing makeup. No, I'll start this. That's not the reason to start a business. You have to find your why and then use that why to find something that pays you. Because there is no business, however successful, it will break you. It will break you into tiny pieces. I don't care how much money you have in your account. Every kobo, there's a tear on it from your eyes that you have shed. Every single kobo. So when you are spending that money, when I see an entrepreneur spending money, it's different too. I know that, yes, spend it. You know, so money can sustain you. You have to find why you do that thing and then use that as the leverage to make money if you can.
Fantastic. Thank you, Salamat. And so just to recap on something so important that you mentioned, and I see that, you know, just discussing with a lot of women really, especially women entrepreneurs, we don't know how to draw the line between our hobbies and our business. And I think that women should start, you know, almost step into their shoes, right? And own their business. It's a business. You are worth it. Charge for it. And don't treat it like a hobby, because if you treat it like a hobby, your customers as well will treat it like a side passion of yours. And it's something that you mentioned, and I think that we should discuss this even more often in wherever we are. And so I would then drill down to the next question, and this would go to Tosin. And this is around people. In fact, let me call it as it is. Japa. I hope I pronounced it well. Japa, right? We have a problem where a lot of people, a lot of our young people are leaving. People don't want to even spend time in companies working 9 to 5 anymore. You hear people say, you know what, I'm just going to give you 1 year and then I'm out, right? And even less. How do you retain talent? How do you attract talent? How do you retain talent so that more people really see the need to build our own market?
Thanks, Ifesinachi. I'm going to answer that question in my own, peculiar way, because when it comes to people, for me, like, our business is a consulting business. It's a knowledge-based business. It's very tasking. It takes the soul out of you. Sometimes I'm preparing strategic documents for hours. When I first started, the story I told you before about being a lone consultant, it meant I had to work late into the night. But the outcomes of our work is what you guys see in the media. So many times you see us dancing and playing, having parties, but the strategy behind it is a lot of work. So when it comes to people, I'm a bit, here and there about that, because you can't force anyone to do our work. You have to be interested. It has to be something that comes naturally to you. After all, I worked in 5 banks, but I hated banking, which is why I left. So what I do now doesn't bother me because I love the outcomes. Now, why I say that is because I want to go back and talk about values. Throughout this conference, the recurrent thread has always been values. In all conversations, listen to all the speakers from yesterday, the keynote speaker, from the chairman of the conference and all of that. Because even at our practice, values, Team 83 is here. All the girls in 83 are here. Team 83, say hello. They're all here. And if they would say anything, I preach every day like a preacher without a pulpit. If you don't stand for something, you would not stand for anything. Which is why you have to bear with me, because I have to tell you, this journey that I told you about 83 is still an evolving story. We haven't gotten to the end yet. It's the middle. And in storytelling, the first thing they teach us is every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I want to take you a little back to the beginning, to how my personal values were shaped. Please bear with me. I've divided it into decades so that I don't take too much of your time. My decade of birth, my decade of discovery, my decade of rebirth, and my decade of consolidation. My decade of birth, I've merged 2 decades in one, 0 to 20. I was born into a very prominent family. My dad used to be a prominent banker in his time. The older school people will know him. He owned a bank, he was the chairman of a bank, but he was a very principled man. And no matter the amount of money he had, he would always say to us, my money is my money, you have to work for yours. So he never gave us anything extra. If I ever called from school to say, Daddy, I need this, he would ask one of the branch managers to go and check if other students in school had it. Otherwise, you don't get it. So basically, I grew up like a normal person. The only way people would know that my father had money at the time is if my friends would come and visit, and they would go back home to school rather and say, do you know where that girl lives? I tell you for a reason before you wonder who asked me question. Let me tell you why I tell you. By the time I turned 20, my father, as prominent as he was in this country, he wrote most of the banking books that bankers used to study, the elements of banking, if you're a banker. He lost his bank, he lost his money, he lost fame and reputation. Guess what happened? All the principles that he had built in, I'll speak for myself, we have some bad eggs in the family. All the principles he had built in us came in very handy, because he had taught us so much while the going was good, while we were living in houses with pools and tennis courts, which is that you have to be bold, you have to be fearless, you have to be determined. More importantly, do not covet other people's money. Your money is your money, and you have to work hard. And that is how, I tell a lie, there's a second lesson I wanted to speak about from my upbringing. The second one is this same man I described was, as we all are, very flawed. He was a polygamist. So he had all these women in the harem, and as a young girl, the first thing I saw was women that fawn over men, and that was like my worldview. Like if he wanted fish, someone would drive to Ekpe to go and get him fish. Like, are you a shark? Why can't we buy fish locally? Do you understand? So my father was the king. He was the prize. Well, my poor husband, I've been married for 21 years. My poor husband has suffered in my hand because that lens that I grew up with is the only reason why I can't be of service to any man. It's, it's just what it is. So what I say to women every time, please work and have your own money. Don't go and be cleaning someone's mouth like some videos I see online when they are done. Why? So those are the 2 childhood lessons in the decade of birth I wanted to share with you. Then I entered my decade of discovery. In this decade, 20-year-old coming from a cocoon background with a father that just lost his bank, no money, no inheritance, but I was still so vocal, so opinionated, and I would look injustice in the face and say, but that's not right. Why would they do that? And that's how I entered banking and started hopping from bank to bank. Nobody ever fired me because they knew I was of use, but I fired myself many times. By the time I was turning 30, that was my decade of discovery. I had to learn. There's one guy online that says you will learn. That one I saw Shege. By the time I was leaving banking, I called this my decade of rebirth. Because by then, I had gone through 10 years of hell. Different kind of shenanigans. In my decade of rebirth, it was self-reflection. It occurred to me, Tosh, it's actually not all these people, it's actually you. You need to calm down. You need to focus. What do you really want to do? I tell people that the life I live now started at the age of 30. I'm 47. Started at the age of 30. What happened was, upon self-reflection, it occurred to me, I could actually create a new beginning. Guys, there's something I want to leave you with today. If the beginning you were born into or you were thrust into is not in your favor, get up and create a new beginning. So in my decade of rebirth, I created a new beginning. I went back to school. I left my bank jobs. I was already a top manager in the bank, commercial banking, GTB, everything. I left everything, went back to school to do my master's. People said, Tosh, go and do an MBA. I said, no. When I come back, I'm not coming back into banking. I'm going into comms. Remember all the things I told you before. And that is how I started my career in communications. So the people that knew me in my 20s know me as a banker. The people that know me in my 30s and my 40s are like, how did you create this media giant? That is the story of new beginnings. I had to go back to school, got a master's in communications, came back, started looking for jobs. Mind you, bankers pay a lot more than any other industry. So I took a pay cut and started from my almost 1 million paying job, I started earning 300,000. My friends will be buying diamonds, this is how my hand will be. Like, what is the problem? What is the issue? Are they doing you? But I didn't care. I was learning. Remember I said this was my decade of rebirth. So I had to bury my head and learn. Until I met one person that was willing to take a chance on me. And his name, I will call it out today, Dr. Biodu Shobanjo. I'm calling your name so I can send you the video. You know you're my daddy. So basically, he said, I love your story. Because I told it to him as I said, just give me a job. I've always wanted to work in comms, And that is how I started working for one of the biggest marketing agencies in Nigeria. That is how I cut my teeth. I see people from Coca-Cola, P&G, Etisalat, name all the global brands. That is where I learned comms until that day. So I'm weaving you back to my decade of consolidation, which is what I'm in now. Because I'm weaving the story back to the earlier story I told you, because when I turned 40 was when I decided to set up 83 Resources, as that today, the story I skipped in the beginning, everything we've made in the last 5 years, we had a wild celebration. Mrs. Adeyemi was there, thank you. I like that I'm seeing you in front of me in January. We had this wild celebration. The reason why I celebrated so bad was because I had seen Wayne. So basically, we celebrated so wildly, and then we're now future-proofing our business. So everything we made in the first 5 years, I enjoyed myself small, but we invested it back into the business. We built our own house of stories in Ikoyi. Feel free to visit when you like. It is the place that we're going to be telling all the brand compelling stories, curating special events. We're opening our studio in the next 2-3 weeks. We want to be able to tell brand stories, brand experiences in a way that we're able to create movement. And everything we do as a people, that story must be told. Thank you.
Wow, Tosin. I think your story is so compelling that I didn't even notice that you didn't answer my question.
But I have to answer that question. 5 words, if you let me. Because I wrote it here. Let me tell you why I went back to the values.
Okay.
Because of the people. Now, what I say to my people is the right values are so important. And I actually wrote it down here. I was like, the qualities that we look for in an 83 person are so important. I encourage vulnerability. I encourage open communication. I give instant feedback. Good and bad, they know me. They're like, she would tell you. And more importantly, we celebrate ourselves because we work too hard. So every time you see us jumping and flying and whatever, and those are the ways in which we retain our talent. Just everybody, see, you can't be sad. You can't be working with people and be sad. So you need to find ways to motivate them beyond just the monetary values.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for that. And there's one thing, you didn't say it, but I just noticed that we don't tell enough of our stories as women. If you look at the memoirs we have out there, I don't think we have a lot of our stories represented and documented in books. I think we women, we should start writing and documenting our triumphs and our challenges, our success stories. Your story is, can definitely change so many lives. So we should definitely think of doing that. Now moving to the next very quickly because our time is almost running out and we have like 1 minute each for the next set of questions. Titi, I would ask you, how should we define success as entrepreneurs? I know that we have the societal definition, but from your own point of view, what do you think success should be like in business?
I think success should be defined by impact. How many lives do you touch? What changes do you make in other people's lives? So I have a number of businesses. I'm in publishing, I'm in education, I'm in software development. And the focus of my business is I want to create change, I want to create impact. And impact goes beyond myself and goes to the people that I'm serving.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I really love the point you raised about impact. We should define success by impact, by our community, by the people that we surround ourselves with. And so moving very quickly to Jane. Jane, you are a success in yourself, right, by your own rights. And my question would really be about replicating success across industries and developing and creating the right environment for other women too to thrive. How do you think, as a successful entrepreneur that you are, how can you create the right environment so that others that are coming behind you can also reach and aspire for the next level?
Okay, I think there are 2 questions there almost in one, but that's all right. So when you talk about replicating business, so first of all, what do you need to have in place? So what are the foundational capabilities that are very important for every business to have before you even talk about scaling up? Right from, it doesn't matter how high you want to go, the higher you want to go, the deeper you must dig your foundation. So first of all, have you defined your vision that is very clear, your mission? What are your values? What culture are you building? What's your DNA? And is that evident in probably even your first establishments before you talk about what can be communicated? So then you're replicating excellence. So when it comes to, I think that is number one. There's a lot more when it comes, talking about solutions. What solutions? Have you defined that? Is there a clear customer value proposition? Obviously addressing particular solutions that are required in the target market you're in. Have you defined your processes? Have you set your contingency? So there's a lot of detail that we may not be able to exhaust. But once you have what I would call the foundational capabilities, the basics right, you can talk about replication. You asked the question of what kind of ecosystem is important for women. I think first of all, there's a real need for support, for empowering other women. The saying that if I have seen farther than others, it's because I've stood on the shoulders. We are a product of being mentored. Personally, I've been mentored by most amazing women in my journey. So I think, first of all, forums like this that you're talking about sharing, about living really inspired, sharing our stories, getting real, and connecting with other people who are senior than we are and who aspire to be where we are, because life is a journey of a lot of learning. That's what you're talking about. Significance is impact. So what are the things? First of all, is creating that environment. Winbiz has done a fantastic job to create those forums to be able to help women get inspired and just go back to do more, to basically find the possibilities in what they would want to do. And number two is, especially in this market, there's such excellence, spots of excellence in different industries that are basically women industries, but they are cottage. So what sort of organizations, especially from even a Winbiz perspective, that is around sectors can actually be organized to scale up that, to provide shared pool of resources for women to be able to move from the cottage to enterprise into corporate, to be able to find markets, basically access to market. And for large corporates, most corporates have corporate social responsibility. How do they support initiatives? This is what sustainability is about. How do you support women? When you support a woman, you basically save generations. So introducing them to corporate social responsibility, that they can actually see the impact of moving that woman from just a trader or cottage, basically doing their fashion, amazing designs at home, into the global space. At Optiva Capital Partners, we are doing that. We're very happy to note one of the brands we actually sponsored, showcased at the London Fashion Week. Absolutely, and now they are going global. And that is Medellin Couture. We are sponsoring other women. We have an initiative in Enugu. We sponsor trade, basically women in the market, training them, the unbanked women, that empowerment to train them and finally be able to lend to them. So it could be, it's actually non-interest, is to support that, because even as we see it here, let's not forget the other women. There are so many women at the grassroots who are so big, they are driving economic growth. How do we support them? How do we create environment that actually encourages them, and so that they can aspire, they can basically aspire to reach their full potential. So I know it's not any comprehensive in the intro, but some of the, just some key points.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jane. I think, if I may, I would coin a word. I suspect it exists already: inclusive sustainability. And I would say that sustainability should be inclusive, not just the business as usual, but just looking at areas of impact, areas that can define, redefine, and contribute to the society again. And that, I believe, is what you mentioned. Looking at our women, especially women that are already integrating and contributing to the fabric and development of society. So thank you so much for that. And final question to Salamat. Someone mentioned earlier that entrepreneurship is a lonely journey, a very lonely journey. How do you build a network of support, the support system one needs to ensure that you are not alienated from the society?
First of all, you have to be nice. Okay. Like I was saying to you earlier on, I would not be here without my support system, period. The people that have supported me, and I'm not just talking about my mother, my father, my sisters, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about customers that have evangelized my business. I'm talking about, I have customers that when they encounter a problem with my staff, they will summon my staff to their house and scold them and deal with them. And then my staff will report themselves to me that, please, we came late because we went to Mr. So-so-so's house because he was shouting at us because we did this yesterday. And they are so invested in my business that there's so much support that I get because I hope it's because of the value that they derive from the business that I do. I cannot undervalue the importance of mentorship and coaching. Unfortunately, there is a dearth of good mentorship. Part of the problem that we have, and every time I have an opportunity to speak, I've said this quite a few times, is that, well, for both sides, the people that are supposed to mentor, with all due respect, quite a number of them do not understand what the responsibility that is being thrust on them. And then the people that are mentoring do not understand what they are looking for in a mentor. So, you see a lady, she's successful. Some girls come up to me and say, look, I want you to be my mentor. I ask them, why? Oh, you know, I just like you. I like you. Yeah. Why? No, you know, you're in oil and gas. I like oil and gas. Why? What do you know I'm doing in oil and gas? If I work in an oil and gas company and I work in the facility management, I'm not technically doing oil and gas. You don't know how I got here. Oh, you know, you're just so confident. You don't know my story. And it goes back to what you were saying about women not telling their stories. You can mentor a variety of women for a variety of different things. So it depends on what they know about you. Ladies, those of you that are looking for mentors, understand what the qualities that you are after, you want to learn about are, and who embodies those qualities. And then follow it. Look, I'll be straight with you. I had a niece who I thought she was getting wayward. And I said, look, if you're going to be an Asha, we'll make money. All this one that you are doing, they are following small money. I don't understand it. If you be a pro and make your money, you know, get a mentor that will teach you this work. You're not learning it. Every day you come and ask me for 10K. What's this? Make your money. Let me be asking you. Then when I come to you, I can't criticize your way of life. I'll just be like, well done. You're really working hard. Please, I need $5K. You throw it at me, we move. And I will talk. But I'll see you doing some kind of funny things. Then you come and meet me and tell me you need 10K. You're not learning this work well. Understand the skill you want to learn. Identify the person, go after that person and learn the skill. Don't farms. It's not about, oh, she's cool, she's in the papers, I like the way she looks, she seems popular, so I'm going to follow her. No, that's not what you're after. Because I hear all kinds of horror stories about people who seek. I was part of the Women's mentorship program some years back, and there was a lady, her mentor couldn't even come for the closing ceremony. And she said she only saw her mentor on Saturdays when her mentor asked her to come to accompany her to parties. And she would tell her, wear a suit. And then she would give her a handbag and she would stand behind her at parties on Saturdays. And I said, and you know, because I was sitting with my mentee and we were talking, you know, we've been bantering up and down, I've been teasing her and so on. And she was like, I can't believe this is the same program I was part of. And so, you know, there was another lady I spoke to who said, oh, her mentee, she decided that her mentee said she's a lesbian and she's going to straighten her up. And I said, I'm sure that's not why she came to you. That is not the business advice she's looking for. The business advice she's looking for is not in her bedroom. We don't know why these people come to us.
Yeah.
If they don't know why they are coming to us, it is our responsibility to explain to them, this is what I have to offer you. Are you interested in learning this from me? If they are not, I trust Gen Z, they will work. Before you finish talking, they will just say, I'm coming, I want to take a call. You won't see them in the and that's okay, you know. So it is your customers that evangelize you, your family and friends, your family and friends, your family and friends. I'm going to keep saying that because they are the reason why I'm here. Proper mentorship, which comes from both sides. So the mentee has to be willing to learn the things that you are willing to teach. If my mentee is following me because I have a lot of friends, you will not learn anything.
Fantastic, fantastic, Salamat, fantastic. Thank you so much. So on the note of having family and friends, mentors, defining mentors and customers, do we still have time for even one question? Not at all. So
Nada.
Thank you so much, first of all, to our speakers. Please, could you put your hands together for our very wonderful speakers?
Thank you so much.
And by the way, you can always check up on their profile on the app. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Another round of applause to them as we invite Member Board of Trustees, Wimbiz Ni Yusuf, to please join them for the group photograph from the panel. And we also would like to have the Chair 2023 Advocacy Committee, Chukunonso Onyese, to please join us also for this group photograph. Thank you very much.